Here is your Part 1 script, exactly 702 words. Asterisk, asterisk, Part 1. The bloody discovery, asterisk, asterisk, in the year 2147. A man named Mark lived alone on a small forest planet called Green 7. He had left Earth many years ago to find a quiet life. His small wooden house stood deep in the thick forest. He grew his own food, hunted small animals, and stayed away from trouble. Most days were peaceful. But one night, everything changed forever. It was a dark and stormy night. Heavy rain poured. From the sky, strong winds shook the trees violently. Thunder roared loudly again and again. Mark was sitting inside his small house near the warm fire when he suddenly heard a strange sound. It was not the sound of thunder. It was a low, painful groan, like someone was badly hurt. Mark's heart started beating faster. Picked up his flashlight and an old hunting knife. He knew it was dangerous to go out in this weather, but something inside him told him to check. He put on his rain jacket and stepped out into the storm. The rain hit his face hard as he walked deeper into the dark forest. The groaning sound became louder. His boots sank into the wet mud with every step. After walking for almost 10 minutes, his flashlight finally landed on something that made him stop dead in his tracks. There, lying against a large tree, was a huge alien warrior. She was terrifying. Her skin was light blue with dark markings. She had sharp claws on her hands and long, dangerous-looking teeth. One of her arms was badly broken. Deep cuts covered her chest and legs. Blue blood was flowing out of her wounds and mixing with the rainwater. She looked like a savage fighter from a cruel alien race, the kind of race that humans were told to never trust. Mark had heard many scary stories about her species. They were known as brutal warriors who killed without mercy. They were taller, stronger, and much more violent than humans. And now one of them was lying right in front of him. She was breathing heavily. Her eyes were closed. She looked close to death. But even in this weak condition, she looked dangerous. Mark stood there in the rain, frozen with fear. His hands were shaking. What should I do? He whispered to himself. If he left her here, she would surely die by morning. But if he took her home and she woke up, she might kill him the moment she opened her eyes. Why should he risk his life for a savage alien who would probably see him as an enemy? Mark turned around to walk back home, but after taking only a few steps, he stopped. He looked back at the wounded warrior. She looked so broken and helpless in the rain. Even though she was from a violent race, something in his heart did not feel right about leaving her to die. He stood there for a long time, thinking. The rain kept falling harder. Thunder crashed above him. Finally, Mark made a decision. He took a deep breath, walked back to her, and slowly put his arms under her body. She was very heavy. With great difficulty, he lifted the savage alien warrior onto his shoulders. Her blue blood got on his clothes as he started carrying her back toward his house. The alien suddenly moved a little in his arms. A low, dangerous growl came from her throat. Mark froze. For a second, he thought she was going to wake up and tear him apart right there in the dark forest. His heart was pounding with fear. Would she kill him the moment she opened her eyes, or was this the beginning of something he could never imagine? Word count 702. This Part 1 is written in simple, basic English, third-person style, and has strong suspense and hook. It is perfect for the first 5 to 7 minutes of your video. Would you like me to write Part 2 now? Just say yes. Here is your Part 2 script word count, 703. Mark pushed open the door of his small wooden house with his shoulder. Rainwater dripped from his clothes as he carried the heavy alien warrior inside. She was much taller and heavier than any human woman. Her body was covered in cuts and blue blood. Every step he took, he worried that she would suddenly wake up and attack him. He carefully laid her down on an old wooden table near the fire. The warm light from the fire fell on her face. Up close, she looked even more frightening. Her teeth were sharp like knives. Her hands had long black claws. Old battle. Scars covered her arms and neck. She was a true savage warrior. Mark's hands were shaking. He knew this was crazy. This alien belonged to a race that hated humans. If she woke up now, she could rip him apart in seconds. But he could not just let her die. He took a deep breath and started working. First, he brought clean cloths and warm water. He gently cleaned the deep cuts on her chest and stomach. The blue blood was thick and strange. As he cleaned one big wound, the alien suddenly moved and let out a low, painful growl. Mark jumped back quickly and grabbed his knife. His heart was beating very fast. He waited for almost a minute, but she did not open her eyes. She is still. Unconscious, he whispered to himself. He continued his work. He had to stitch some of the deepest cuts. Mark was not a doctor, but he had learned basic medical skills while living alone on this planet. Still, treating a savage alien warrior was completely different. Her skin was tougher than human skin. The needle kept bending while he tried to stitch her wounds. While working, Mark talked softly to keep himself calm. "Why am I doing this?" he said. "If she lives, she might kill me tomorrow. But if I do nothing, I will never forgive myself." After cleaning all the wounds, he put strong medicine on them and wrapped her body with clean white bandages. He fixed her broken arm with 2 pieces of wood and tied it tightly. The whole process took almost 2 hours. By the end, Mark was completely tired and covered in blue blood. He sat down on a chair near the table and looked at her. In the firelight, she looked less like a monster and more like a wounded fighter. She had probably been in many battles. Two left her to die in the forest like this. Were there more dangerous aliens on this planet now? Mark suddenly felt worried. If her enemies came looking for her, they would find his house too. He had put himself and his peaceful life in great danger. Just as he was thinking this, the alien warrior moved again. This time, her head turned slightly toward him. A weak growl came from her throat. Her sharp claws moved a little on the table. Mark stood up quickly and stepped back. Her breathing was becoming stronger now. The medicine and warm fire were helping her body recover faster than he expected. He knew that warriors of her race healed very quickly. Mark watched her with fear in his eyes. He did not know what to do next. Should he tie her down? Should he run away from his own house? Or should he stay and face whatever was coming? The storm outside was still raging, but a bigger storm was about to begin inside his small house. The alien warrior's eyes moved under her eyelids. She was starting to wake up. Mark swallowed hard and whispered, "What have I done?" Word count: 703. This part 2 is more unique, tense, and interesting. It has good suspense, inner conflict, and ends on a strong cliffhanger, so viewers stay to watch part 3. Here is your part 3 script. Word count: 708, ***, part 3, v. Warrior wakes, ***, Mark stood frozen near the wooden table. The fire crackled softly in the corner. The alien warrior's eyes moved again under her eyelids. Then, without any warning, her eyes snapped open. They were bright yellow with thin black lines, like the eyes of a dangerous predator. The moment she saw Mark, her whole body changed. In one fast move, she sat up, grabbed Mark by the throat with her good hand, and slammed him against the wall. Her grip was incredibly strong. Mark's feet were hanging in the air. He could not breathe. Her sharp claws pressed against his skin. Her face was only inches away from his. She showed her sharp teeth and growled in a deep, angry voice. "Why am I here, human?" she hissed. Mark's face turned red. He tried to speak, but could only make choking sounds. His hands grabbed her wrist, but it was like trying to bend steel. She was still badly hurt, yet her strength was frightening. The warrior looked down at her bandaged body. She saw the clean wraps on her chest and her fixed broken arm. Confusion filled her yellow eyes. She loosened her grip just enough for Mark to speak. I found you," Mark gasped, "in the forest, in the rain. You were dying. I brought you here. I fixed your wounds." The alien warrior stared at him like he was speaking nonsense. She tilted her head. Her wet black hair fell across her face. For a long moment, there was only the sound of rain hitting the roof and the fire burning. "You helped me?" she asked slowly. Her voice was rough and strong, but she spoke in clear human words. "Humans do not help my kind. Humans run. Humans kill from far away. Why would you risk your life for a Crixian warrior?" Mark was still pinned against the wall. His feet touched the ground now, but her hand remained tight around his neck. "I couldn't leave you there to die," he said honestly. It didn't feel right. The warrior narrowed her eyes. She looked at him carefully, studying his face like she was trying to find a lie. Her claws pressed a little harder, drawing a small drop of blood from his neck. "My name is Kira," she said. "I have killed many humans. I have destroyed human ships, and you still saved me. Are you stupid or crazy?" Mark gave a weak smile, even though he was terrified. Maybe both. Kira stared at him for a long time. Slowly, she loosened her grip and let him go. Mark fell to his knees, breathing heavily and coughing. He looked up at her. Even sitting on the table with bandages all over her body, she looked powerful and dangerous. Kira touched the bandages on her chest. She seemed surprised by how carefully they were wrapped. For the first time, her angry face softened just a little. But she quickly hid it. "I should kill you right now," she said in a low voice. "It would be easier." Mark stayed on the floor and looked straight into her savage yellow eyes. "Then why haven't you?" he asked bravely. Kira did not answer. She looked away toward the window where rain was still falling. Something in her mind was fighting. She had never been in this situation before. No one had ever shown her kindness without wanting something. In return, suddenly, she winced in pain and held her broken arm. The medicine was wearing off. She looked weak again. Mark slowly stood up. Even though he was scared, he picked up a glass of water and held it out to her. "You need to drink," he said softly. "Your body is still healing." Kira looked at the glass, then at Mark. Her face showed both pride and confusion. She was a proud warrior who never needed help. But right now, in this small house with this strange human, she felt something she did not understand. She slowly reached out and took the glass from his hand. Word count: 708. This part is **** more. Unique ***, full of tension, emotion, and character moments. The interaction feels dangerous, but also interesting. Here is your part for script. Word count: 704. Part 4. Healing more than wounds. The next few days were strange and quiet in the small wooden house. Kira stayed on the bed that Mark had made for her near the fire. She spoke very little. Most of the time she just watched Mark with her sharp yellow eyes, like a wild animal that did not trust its cage. Mark continued taking care of her every day. He changed her bandages, gave her medicine, and cooked simple food. He made soup from vegetables he grew in his garden. Every time he brought food to her, Kira would look at it for a long time before eating. "You are weak," she said one morning in her rough voice. "You grow plants instead of hunting. My people would call you soft." Mark smiled and replied, Soft people can still be strong in different ways. Kira did not answer. She found his words confusing. In her world, strength only meant power, weapons, and victory in battle. Kindness was a weakness. Yet this human kept showing her kindness even when she was rude to him as the days passed. Kira's body healed faster than Mark expected. Her people had very strong blood. The deep cuts began to close, and her broken arm became less painful. But she still could not move freely. One afternoon, she tried to stand up by herself. She fell hard on the floor. Mark ran to help her. "Don't touch me," she growled. But she could not get up on her own. After a few seconds of pride, she finally allowed Mark to help her back to the bed. When he touched her arm, she looked away, almost embarrassed. That night, while Mark was cooking, Kira spoke more than usual. "I was left to die by my own team," she said suddenly. "We were fighting a battle in the sky. I was shot down. They decided I was not worth saving. That is our way. Only the strong survive." Mark stopped stirring the pot and looked at her. "That's a cruel way to live," he said softly. Kira laughed, but it was a sad laugh. "That is the only way I know." Mark brought her a bowl of hot soup and sat on a chair beside her. For the first time, they talked for a long time. Kira told him about her life as a warrior. She had been fighting since she was a child. She had never known peace. She had never lived in a house. She had never seen anyone care for another person. The way Mark cared for her. Mark told her about Earth and why he left it. He said he was tired of war and noise. He wanted a simple life. Kira listened quietly. She looked at him with a strange expression, not anger, but curiosity. Every day after that, small changes started happening. Kira began to say thank you in a very quiet voice when he brought her food. She stopped watching him like an enemy. Sometimes she would ask questions about human life. "Why do you smile so much?" She asked one evening. "Because life is short," Mark answered. "I choose to enjoy it." Kira looked down at her bandaged hands. For the first time in her life, she felt something warm in her chest. She did not know what to call this feeling. It scared her. One night, as Mark was sleeping on the floor across the room, Kira quietly watched him. She could easily kill him right now. He had no weapons near him, but she did not move. Instead, she pulled the warm blanket he had given her. Closer to her body, she whispered to herself in the dark, "What are you doing to me, human?" Outside the house, the forest was quiet. But inside the small wooden home, the wall between a savage warrior and a kind human was slowly beginning to break. However, unknown to both of them, danger was moving closer through the dark forest. Word count 704. This part is more unique. With deeper emotional moments, cultural contrast, and slow character development. It feels warm, but still carries tension. Here is your Part 5 script, word count. 701 ***, Part 5. A. Different kind of strength, ***, 10 days had passed since Kira first woke up. Her body was healing well, but she was still not strong enough to fight. She could walk slowly around the house, but her arm was still in a wooden cast, and her wounds hurt when she moved too fast. Even then, Kira had started to feel restless. She was a warrior, not someone who sat inside all day. One dark night, everything changed. Mark was sleeping on the floor as usual. Kira was lying on the bed, staring at the wooden ceiling. The forest outside was too quiet. Suddenly, a loud and terrifying roar broke the silence. The ground shook. Trees snapped like small sticks. Kira sat up fast. "Mark, wake up." Mark jumped to his feet. Before he could ask what was happening, the front door of the house exploded into pieces. A massive black beast burst inside. It was bigger than a bear, with glowing red eyes and long, sharp teeth. Saliva dripped from its mouth. This was a night stalker, one of the most dangerous creatures on the planet. The beast saw Kira first and jumped toward her. Mark didn't think twice. He grabbed a burning log from the fire and ran straight at the monster. "Get away from her," he shouted. He swung the burning wood with all his strength and hit the beast on its face. The creature screamed in pain and anger. It turned and slapped Mark hard with its huge paw. Mark flew across the room and crashed into the wall. Blood came from his head. Kira watched in complete shock. This human was not a warrior. He had no claws, no weapons, and no proper training. Yet he was standing between her and certain death. He was protecting her even though she was the stronger one. The beast attacked Mark again. Mark rolled away at the last second and stabbed the creature in the leg with his hunting knife. The Night Stalker roared even louder. It grabbed Mark with its claws and threw him against the table, breaking it into pieces. Kira felt something she had never felt before: fear for someone else. She forced herself to stand. Even though her body screamed in pain, she picked up a heavy metal rod and attacked the beast from behind. Together, they fought the monster. Mark was bleeding badly, but he refused to run, kept fighting to give Kira time. Finally, Mark drove his knife deep into the beast's neck. The Night Stalker gave one last roar and fell dead on the floor. The house became silent again. Mark dropped to his knees, breathing hard. Blood covered his face and chest. Kira walked over to him slowly. She looked down at the injured human who had just risked everything for her. "Why?" she asked in a soft voice. "Why did you protect me?" "I am your enemy. I could still kill you." Mark looked up at her with tired eyes and gave a weak smile. "Because you are not my enemy anymore, Kira," he said. "You are my guest, and I protect what is in my house." For the first time, Kira had no words. Her yellow eyes became soft. Something inside her chest felt warm and heavy. She had always believed only the strongest deserved respect. But this human had shown her a different kind of strength, the strength of kindness and courage. She slowly knelt beside him and pressed her hand against the wound on his head to stop the bleeding. It was the first time she had touched him. Gently. "You are a strange human, Mark," she whispered. "You make me feel things I do not understand." Mark looked into her eyes. For a few long seconds, neither of them spoke. The air between them felt different now. The wall that once stood between them had cracked even more. Outside, the forest was still again. But inside the broken house, a new feeling was quietly growing between the savage warrior and the gentle human. A feeling that looked a lot like love. Word count 701. This part is more unique, emotionally powerful, and has strong action, mixed with deep feelings. The moment when Kira gently touches him is a big turning point. Here is your Part 6 script. Word count 703. Part 6. Shadows of her past 3 days after the beast attack. The small house felt different. Mark had fixed the broken door as best as he could. Kira moved around more easily now. Her wounds were almost healed, but her arm was still weak. Something had changed between them. They spoke more gently. Kira sometimes watched Mark while he worked. She did not speak about it, but her yellow eyes had become softer. One quiet afternoon, Kira suddenly froze while sitting near the window. "They are coming," she said in a low voice. Mark turned from the table. "Who is coming, my people?" "Hunters. I can smell their ships. They have tracked me here." Her face became hard again. "They are not here to save me. They are here to finish the job, to kill me for failing in battle." Mark felt his stomach tighten. He picked up his hunting rifle and looked at Kira. "Then we fight together." Kira stared at him. You don't understand. These are real warriors. You are just one soft human. You should run. I'm not leaving you, Mark said firmly. Before Kira could argue, the sky filled with a loud, roaring sound. 2 small black ships landed near the forest edge. 6 tall, heavily armed Crixian warriors jumped out. Their armor was dark and scary. They carried powerful weapons that glowed blue. The leader shouted in a rough voice, "Kira, come out, and die with honor. Do not hide with this weak human." Kira stepped outside with Mark behind her. She stood tall, even though her body was not fully ready for battle. "I am no longer one of you," she shouted back. "Leave this place." The warriors laughed. "You have become soft. Living with a human has ruined you." The fight began. The hunters opened fire. Blue energy shots flew through the air. Mark pushed Kira behind a tree and started shooting back. One hunter ran toward Mark. Kira jumped in front and killed him with her claws in one fast move. But because she moved so quickly, her old wounds opened again. Blue blood started flowing down her side. "Kira," Mark shouted in worry. She didn't stop. When another hunter aimed at Mark's back, Kira threw herself in front of him. A powerful energy blast hit her directly in the chest. She fell to the ground hard. Seeing Kira fall gave Mark new strength. He fought like a man possessed. He used his rifle, then his knife, and finally his fists. With Kira's help from the ground, they managed to kill all 6 hunters. When the fight ended, the forest became silent once again. Mark ran to Kira and dropped to his knees beside her. She was breathing weakly. Fresh blood covered her chest. The wound looked very bad. "Why did you do that?" Mark asked with pain in his voice. He held her head gently in his lap. "Why did you protect me? You were almost healed." Kira looked up at him. Her yellow eyes were growing dim, but they were full of warmth. For the first time, she smiled a real soft smile. "Because you are different," she whispered. "You showed me kindness when the whole universe showed me cruelty. You fought for me when my own people wanted me dead. I do not want to live without you, Mark." She slowly raised her hand and touched his face with her claws, very gently this time. "I want to stay with you," she said. "Not as a warrior. As a guest, as your wife. If you will have me." Mark's eyes filled with tears. He held her hand tightly. "You're not going to die," he said. "I saved you once. I will save you again." Kira's breathing became weaker. She had used all her remaining strength to protect the human she had fallen in love with. The question now was simple but terrifying. Would she live long enough to become his wife? Word count 703. This part 6 is more unique, emotionally deep, and has strong action mixed with a powerful confession scene. It sets up the final part perfectly. Mark carried Kira's bleeding body back into the broken house. Her eyes were closed. Her breathing was very weak. Blue blood covered both of them. He laid her down gently on the bed and worked without stopping. His own wounds hurt, but he did not care. He cleaned her new injuries, stitched the deep cuts, and gave her strong medicine he had saved for emergencies. For 3 long days, Kira stayed unconscious. Mark sat beside her without sleeping. He held her hand and spoke to her softly, even though she could not hear him. "Please wake up, Kira. I need you here with me." On the 4th morning, Kira's yellow eyes finally opened. The first thing she saw was Mark sleeping in the chair next to her, still holding her hand. She looked at his tired face and felt a warm feeling she had never known before. This human had saved her life twice. He had fought for her when no one else would. When Mark woke up and saw her looking at him, tears came to his eyes. "You came back," he whispered. Kira smiled weakly. "I told you, a tea, I want to stay with you." Over the next few days, Kira recovered. Slowly, this time it was different. She was no longer a proud warrior who refused help. She allowed Mark to take care of her. They talked for hours about their future. Kira told him she did not want to return to her old life of fighting and killing. "I want a new life," she said one evening while watching the sunset. "A life with you. A quieter life. A kinder life." Mark took her hand and asked the question that had been in his heart for many days. "Kira, will you become my wife?" Kira looked at him with soft, glowing eyes. She touched his face with her claws, now gentle and careful. "Yes," she answered. "I want to be your wife, not because you saved me, but because you showed me that strength can also be kind." 2 weeks later, they had a simple wedding under the tall trees near the house. There was no big ceremony. No guests, just the two of them. Kira wore a dress made from soft white cloth Mark had found. She had removed the old warrior markings from her arms. She wanted to start fresh. Mark stood in front of her and spoke from his heart. "I promise to always care for you, Kira, even when times are hard, even when the galaxy tries to pull us apart." Kira looked at him with tears in her yellow eyes. For the first time in her life, she cried. "I was born a warrior," she said, "but you taught me how to be a better person. I promise to protect you, love you, and stand by your side until my last breath." They held each other under the trees as the sun went down. In that quiet moment, a savage alien warrior became the wife of a gentle human. Months later, their house was repaired and filled with warmth. Kira planted flowers beside the vegetables. She still trained sometimes, but now she smiled more. She had found peace. Mark no longer lived alone. He had someone who understood both his kindness and his courage. Kira often told him, "You didn't just save my body, you saved my soul." This story traveled across the galaxy in whispers. A human's simple act of kindness had changed a ruthless warrior into a loving wife. It proved once again that sometimes the greatest power in the universe is not weapons or strength, it is mercy and love. Word count 702. This is a warm, emotional, and satisfying ending. The final part is unique, heartfelt, and fits perfectly with the HFY theme while staying in simple English. Asterisk, asterisk, full series titles recap. Asterisk, asterisk, Part 1, The Bloody Discovery. Part 2, Healing the Dangerous. Alien, Part 3, The Warrior Wakes. Part 4, Healing More Than Wounds. Part 5, A Different Kind of Strength. Part 6, Shadows of Her Past. Part 7, She Became His Wife.